Hi guys, welcome to my video. I hope that you will find it helpful. If that is the case, then please subscribe and like so that we can keep this resource for free. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've looked at the environment and where where organization operates in, and we looked at the classification of South African companies. Now we're going to go back to that internal environment. In other words, so what I'm doing, I'm looking at the second slide. I then take this part that talks about the internal environment, I take it out and I describe it in more detail on this slide. Okay, so let's look at the management disciplines and how they apply to the internal environment of an organization. So if we look at strategies, the first of those things, then we really look about two management functions, the one being strategic management and the other one change management. And there's a relationship between the two. Strategic management is all about the long-term planning, while change management is all about carrying out the plans. So somebody must do the planning and somebody must carry out the plans. Those of you who have had the fortune or misfortune of working with me, strategic management, good, long-term planning. Change management, carrying out the plans, less good. Okay, so that's, but obviously both has to happen or else it just stays plan now. Then when we talk about operations, we are really talking about two management functions or two management disciplines. The first being operational management and the second being supply chain management. So when we talk about operational management, we're talking about the processes and procedures in the organization and how we utilize the resources in the organization. That's operational management. When it comes to supply chain management, we also include purchasing management, logistics management, and sales management. What do each of these mean? Well, purchasing management is the department or the discipline responsible for the buying of the goods. Logistical management is responsible for the movement of the goods, and sales management is responsible for the selling of the goods. When we look at relations in the internal environment, we're really talking about stakeholder management, and there are three disciplines that ties in with stakeholder management. The first one is public relations, and the public relation discipline are the guys that are responsible for the company's relation with shareholders and the community. Then you have compliance. Now in bigger companies, compliance managers and compliance management is a discipline that's separate from everything else because it's so big. And there we are looking at government relations. And then also we are looking at key account management, which is really our customer relations, because obviously we want to keep our customers happy so that they will come back and become permanent clients and we will have a long-term relationship with them. Okay, then we have a look at our support functions, and when we talk about support functions, we're talking about HR, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about financial management, information technology management, and really admin management. I don't know why I didn't include admin there. That's just weird. Okay, let me just include administrative management there. Admin, sometimes when I'm busy with the slides and I'm talking to you guys, then I see the gaps that myself, and then I actually have the opportunity to just fix it quickly. So we're looking at admin management as well. Now here's the problem in many companies. So this is the four things, the four activities, call it if you want, that happens within the internal environment, and each one has management functions that are aligned to those activities. Now, what we often find though is I approach a company and I speak to the HR manager, and then the poor HR manager is also given compliance as a function and admin management as a function, and is somehow also involved in the key accounts management. And you think to yourself, now, when did this poor HR guy sign up for all these other management functions and then doesn't see the end of the day or doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel because the poor people are overworked? But obviously, you will have to have a very big company before you are actually going to find all the management disciplines that I have here in that company. In most companies, even if you don't have functionaries to do it, the job must still be done. So somebody is going to do it. And so you have weird combinations of management functions within a company. Okay. So the competencies, the management competencies required by companies depends on really the type of company and what they are looking for in managers. Now, the thing is, really, to find a manager with all the correct competencies is actually quite difficult. But this is what we were looking. So when it comes to ethics and good governance and planning skills and the driving of efficiency and strategic thinking, it does not matter whether the company is state-owned, public, private, personal liability, closed corporation, or non-profit company. These are management competencies that is required by all managers in all industries. Now, when we are talking about the focus of the manager, when a manager works at a state-owned enterprise or for the state itself, the focus is or should be on service delivery. But anywhere else, the focus should be on responsible growth. In terms of managing relationships, the manager in the state-owned company must know how to handle politicians because he is indirectly or directly reporting to them in any case. But in all the other cases, it's about providing leadership. Okay, state-owned companies, the communication in state-owned companies is really between different state departments. But when we talk about the others, any other type of company, we are really talking about multi-level communication. Okay, so just because you're non-profit doesn't mean that you're not gonna speak to people in all the other types of entities. Where it begins to differ a little bit is on the primary stakeholders. So with a state-owned company, the primary stakeholders is the public. It's true if we say we pay the salaries of the government officials at any level. So the primary stakeholder, as far as a public entity is concerned, a state-owned entity rather, is the public. The primary stakeholder for a public company is its shareholders. The primary stakeholder for a private company are its investors, the people that actually put their own money in the company. The primary stakeholder in the case of a personal liability company is the partners. Okay. In the case of a closed corporation, it's the members, and in the case of a non-profit, it is the funders of that non-profit organization. I see that non-profit wants a little dash there, so let me give it the dash that it desires. Okay, and then lastly, we can say, what are the primary responsibilities of a manager in each of these types of businesses? Well, the primary responsibility of a manager in a state-owned enterprise is to curb corruption and cut costs. And part of why we are in such trouble is that not one of those two has actually been happening. There is corruption and there is inflated cost. And that's what happens if the managers working for the state neglect their primary responsibility. The primary responsibility of a manager, and we're really talking about here top managers now, in a public entity, a public company, is to guide the divisional heads. Okay. In the case of a private and a personal liability company, the primary responsibility is to make a profit. Okay. And in the case of closed corporations and non-profit, it is to remain sustainable. Okay. Now, I did say to you that there's a drive to make all closed corporations private companies in time. So there's also a lot of smaller companies that falls in between here that is struggling to survive, remaining sustainable while trying to make a profit all the time. Okay. In the last slide we are going to look at here are the different management roles. And here we distinguish between a generalist and a specialist. And then I've given you the advantages and the disadvantages of each. So let's look at a generalist first. A generalist is competent in different fields. That is a definite advantage. He is also a big picture thinker. He has many contacts and he can synthesize ideas. Now remember, synthesize mean to bring together. So he can see different things, see opportunities and bring them together so that he can operate on. The disadvantages of a generalist is they often spread themselves too thinly. They don't really have in-depth knowledge of any one field, and they need time to research complex issues. Okay, let's look at a specialist. Advantages of a specialist is he can concentrate on one area. They are highly skilled in their area of expertise. They can provide unique insights that generalists will never have, and they have experience of similar problems. Disadvantages of a specialist, they can be very expensive. They often find it difficult to adapt, and the solutions are not always realistic. Okay. Because they are so focused in their thinking. And then you have a special group of people who are consultants that provide professional advice to other businesses. So it's a collection of specialists in a certain field that provide advice to other businesses. And there we can think of McKinsey and Accenture and Bain & Corp and Deloitte and KPMG and Ernst & Young and well, yeah, and there's a couple here that for some reason I left them out. I don't know why. Okay, so these are really all accounting and management type services that these companies that I've got here do, but there are also these days there are marketing companies that to which companies can outsource their marketing, HR companies to which companies can outsource their HR, or even just the payroll or things like this. So, and if you think of an engineering consulting engineering company, there you have a group of engineers that provide advice to other businesses in the manufacturing industry.
Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you found it valuable, please subscribe and like.